I think the sound level here indicates that everyone is back now. Welcome back. I hope you had some coffee and sugar because you're going to need it. There will be a lot of information now, and I have 20 minutes to deliver it. So please fasten your seatbelts. My name is Preben Thorö. I'm the CTO at Trifork. I'm responsible for the program work at our conferences. This is our mission statement, as taken from the web page, our homepage. So we specialize in IT and AI, focusing on solving complex problems with a strong commitment to sustainability from start to finish. Our mission is to continuously push boundaries in everything we do. We work alongside our customers to create and apply cutting-edge digital solutions that tackle tough challenges and help make the world a better place. So another way to put this is that we want to have an impact with what we're doing. We want to improve some situation for someone out there. And what that means is we have to build the right user experience. This is how I like to see user experience. So where a carpenter builds his solutions with wood and tools, we build our solutions with data and software. And how I like to think about it is having meaningful data, presenting it in a meaningful way, doing meaningful things with it, and just everything meaningful adding up. When this is in balance, data functionality, the way it looks, the way it behaves, when this is in balance, that is when we have good user experience. Or another way to put it, what does the end user need? How should it work? What data can support it, and how should it look? But there's one thing I would like to add here, because when this is in balance, we have good user experience. But there's one thing we're missing here. The sugar on top of this. If we add passion to this, we can lift the user experience from good enough to another level. So if we could only predict what's coming, we would know how to build the solutions and the perfect user experience for the time to come. Unfortunately, history has shown that predicting the future is very difficult. And that's actually material for a presentation I would like to do one day, just talking about failed prophecies. But I couldn't help. I think this is in the crossfield, somewhere between hilarious and funny and scary and frightening, that someone seriously in the 90s meant that vacuum cleaners would be nuclear powered within 10 years. Predicting the future is difficult, but we would still like to know what comes, what is to come. So what can we do instead? But one thing we can do is we can look at the trends out there. Anything we do, the current context we have is at any time given by larger and smaller wheels interacting out there. By looking at that, especially the larger wheels, we can have an idea about where we're going. Before we dive into this, you could ask, okay, so Trifork, if we see this as a consultancy company, why do we care about R&D at all? Well, I think our mission statement defines that very well. We want to stay ahead, we want to push boundaries, always, at any time. The way we do this, our R&D within Trifork, I usually say we have decentralized it. Because the way we have organized ourselves, we have our plus 70 business units, we have our plus 20 lab companies, all in their individual markets, all with a huge surface to the world. A lot of creativity and innovation going on in these units. There's a lot of R&D happening on a daily basis, which adds up to the combined R&D pool within Trifork. and add on top of that our Inspire segment, what we do. Add that on top of that. So let's dive in to something. Think about Microsoft Word. How it was 15 years ago. It was like a mess of tabs adding on. Then someone rearranged it, and suddenly we had context-sensitive menus, toolbars, and everything. But all of that is an attempt to squeeze in information on a limited 2D screen space. It's always a struggle in anything we do. What is the right information given that we have limited space? Then when navigating, we have our mouse, which is actually a poor excuse for navigation. So we're navigating with the mouse on a flat surface, and the movements are being reflected onto the screen. And maybe you can select things, and things are happening on the screen, or you can drag and drop things. But what you really want to do, drag and drop, is actually you want to take something and put it somewhere else. But it's like everything we do, we are limited by, well, obviously by the technology we have. We're limited by the 2D screen and the world around that. So here's a term you have heard a couple of times already, and you will be hearing that again and again in the years to come. Spatial computing. Because as human beings, actually we are spatial by nature. Well, of course we are, because we live in a 3D world and we live in the surroundings around us. But the way that has evolved our brains and our senses is that they are meant to work together. They work together. So the pictures we create inside our minds are actually built up by input of all senses. We are meant to work, to act in a spatial world. Spatial computing is how to interact in the real world around us, physical environments. And you're going to hear that again and again, because suddenly this has become realistic now. To do real, true spatial computing, what we will have to do is to meld our senses and a perception of the world around us together with the way I move here, with the way I use my hands. You can see in my eyes where I have my focus. All of that needs to meld together. Audio too. And in a way that doesn't even exclude the world around us with the solutions we do. So imagine if we have something here. Now I have to come with the first disclaimer of the day, because I've just been talking about how limited we are with 2D screens. And now I'm going to show you a 3D world on a 2D screen here. But please, I will encourage you to visit us in one of the demo rooms and try this on by yourself, because it's really hard to describe with words how the true experience actually is. But imagine if you are working with data, you're using to seeing it on a coordinate system on a flat screen. But what if you could actually be inside that data? Look at it from the inside, how it really relates. This is a use case from a drug discovery world. And what is important here is to find the true distance measured in certain properties between some of these drug candidates. And by moving that into a 3D space, we have completely new ways of seeing the true distances and measurements inside of data here. We were so lucky, we were invited as one of the very early insiders. We were invited to work closely together with Apple before the Vision Pro was even launched to the market. And I'm more than proud to say that we have been able to impress Apple, and I mean Apple at all levels in the organization. We have been able to impress Apple with our ways of thinking user experience, and with that sugar on top I mentioned before. Here's a snippet from a presentation Mr. Cook did only a couple of weeks ago.
Now that it's out in the world and people are experiencing its phenomenal capabilities, we're seeing some amazing things being done with Apple Vision Pro. Porsche is building brand new spatial experiences across the company, from reimagining track experiences to training service technicians to creating their showroom of the future.
This is something we built, and I encourage you to come and experience it for yourself in one of the demo rooms. Here's another thing. This is very easy to think into any context in any industry, actually. This might be from a motorsport context, but what I really want to show here is how we can work with different ways of perceiving data, projecting it onto different models, interpreting it real time, and presenting it in a world where screen space is not a limitation anymore. It could look like this. Or imagine if you didn't have to close the entire production line to train new staff. If you could just build a copy of the production line and do your training, do your safety certifications and whatever on a digital copy of that production line. Here's an example of an industrial robot in our office, in my office in Switzerland.
Place object in your right hand on the right side of the cross.
And so on. It's a longer training session. But actually I feel, having been part of developing this and having tested this again and again and again, I actually feel that I would be able to operate that robot at the production line. So imagine we are going to hear the word spatial computing again and again, as I said, over the coming years. This is the first version we have. Think 15 years back to the first iPhone and where we are now. And then try to imagine where we will be with the next generation of this hardware and when competing products will start to come. In a not too distant future, we will not just think about our solutions, should they be on an iPad or on a web page. There's a new device. The solution, what is the right media for the solution we are going to build for the customer? We need to put the word spatial computing into the equation too. Here's another term you have heard already and you will be hearing again and again in the coming years. That is vision AI. And just as we have been able to impress Apple with, and dare I say, the #1 UX company in the world, Apple, we have been able to impress them with what we do. The same way we have been able to impress the #1 AI model in the company, NVIDIA, with some of our solutions. What recently required special sensors and human intervention, human eyes, has become possible with simple camera technologies now. Here's an example we made just as a demo for today. Imagine an airfield. Imagine everything that has to take place, that has to happen from the minute the plane enters at the gate until it leaves again. Imagine all the procedures, all the checkings, all the safety things. Here's how this could look if we had a camera analyzing it. And I wish my flight had been that efficient when I came here. Here's another one. This is a real-life example. So using cameras to detect defects or scratches or damages or doubtful art on wagons like this with a camera, being able to identify this. I'm going to leave this as a cliffhanger here for my colleague Karan to pick it up later. And Now let's think, what if we could melt spatial computing and vision AI together? That would be a whole new world opening for us, which I'm going to leave to Karan too. Karan, I hope you're ready for the challenge. I'd like to show you something. What I have here is a full-blown computer, complete with CPU, memory, flash disk, and a camera. This thing is able to run advanced AI models just on the board here with the camera. This is an AI vision, a vision AI device I have here. And why is that important? If you think back on the video we had of the plane, what we were trying to achieve is to see if someone forgot the pipe from tanking the plane, or if someone forgot something, or if that everything went okay, the operations around the plane. So what is important here is actually the event itself. Someone is mounting the pipe, someone is releasing it again. That is the important thing, not the picture itself. So if we can keep data on the device here, we don't have to send it anywhere to analyze it. We can analyze it on the device. We free ourselves for a lot of privacy issues. Data stays on the edge. Edge has indeed been reborn. Now add to that the upcoming EU AI regulations. And if we're talking privacy here, we're just one step away from talking security. And talking security, this is material for a complete day in itself, obviously, quantum computing. So let's just reduce it to mathematician Peter Shaw showed in '94 how easily a quantum computer, if we could build it, how easily it would be able to break public key encryption, which basically means that if we manage to realize the quantum computer, encryption as we know today will fall apart. Here's the scary part. This is the only prophecy that I can guarantee you will become true. All history, all experience has shown that all encryption will be broken at some point. And it doesn't matter if we manage to do the quantum computer or not. All encryption will be broken. We are being exposed on a daily basis with media stories about cyber attacks and cyber this and that. Add to that if someone could steal your data today and decrypt it tomorrow, I think it pretty much gives us good arguments for being serious about security. And I'm slowly wrapping up here because we're running out of time. But we may not get to a point where we realize the quantum computer. It's yet to be, revealed, decided, figured out. But just the research we are doing, the way we are working with quantum principles, the research we are doing, teaches us so much about the real world, and it teaches us so many ways to improve things we already do, new ways of doing algorithms for things we already do, new ways of realizing hardware. It ties perfectly into a sustainability agenda. Everything we get as a positive spin-off from the quantum computing research. Which leads me into, I will not dive into this, but sustainability is very, very high on our radar, as has been mentioned a couple of times already. And please catch us during the breaks to hear about some of the initiatives we do, our ideas of rethinking how we build buildings, our cooperation with the lab company DRIP, about how to actually accumulate water, wastewater, rainwater, until the grid is able to receive it. So, in all of these wheels spinning out there, I think Trifork has a sweet spot in the middle of everything. And what characterizes us, well, we have our decentralized R&D through the way we have organized ourselves. We're working with cutting-edge partners, defining these trends. It lies deep down in our DNA that understanding the user needs is key to what we do. User experience is key to everything we do. We have our strong global network through our Inspire segment, and I think we are well positioned. Now, what characterizes our customers? Well, our customers are typically not software companies, so they have the competences somewhere else. They don't have this R&D software set up as we do. They don't have the same innovation power in software as Trifork does. We see that implementing GDPR is still an issue out there. And just around the corner, we will have the NIS2 coming up. We will have the EU AI regulations coming. Security is a permanent issue which everyone should take seriously. And as Jørn mentioned, it's always the balance between is it important and is it urgent, and is something more urgent. But security should be taken seriously out there. And all the solutions we do, it's always about optimizing for sustainability or for economics. And that is what we do with the technology, with what we get, the spin-offs by those wheels out there. And here comes disclaimer number 2. Because if I was to release you now, which I am actually, but if you left the room now, you would leave the room with the understanding that Trifork is a company that does vision AI and spatial computing and security. And that is true. But I also need to say that we do so much more because of this surface we have to the outer world through our business units and our labs company. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Preben. Now we're all confused at a higher level. So a lot of opportunity. And what we're going to talk about now is execution. So I learned something this morning. You probably all heard this phrase, that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? But then I read something else, that culture is being eaten for dinner by leadership. And I think I was reflecting on that until now, because I just saw it this morning. And I saw it because I was booked for a meeting with someone who wrote a book about this, back to the books, and he canceled the meeting on me. But he still helped me because I reflected on this idea. So now we're going to talk about execution, Karan. So you're one of the new kids on the block.
Literally.
And I will not be talking anything about your background and culture, but I'm very happy that Geeta is on our board. She's from India. You are from India. Mm-hmm. Half of the people in Google are from India. There's something about you, and I'm happy that you are now a part of Trifork US. So I have been a part of the journey from 2 white guys in a little farmhouse to now 2,000 across our labs and the Trifork segment, the more or less the 100 businesses we're talking about. And I just want you to take it to the next 1,000x, okay? How are we going to do that? So, starting from basic, we need to take everything we learned, and then we need to bring it out into the world. And this picture here shows that the journey started here, but there's one interesting thing that in, where is it, Frederick? At some point, after 2009, because I moved to Switzerland in 2009. Why did I move to Switzerland? To avoid tax, or to ski, or to build international market? Well, it was Preben, actually, that you just heard. Him and I, we had a ski cabin on the Swiss mountain. And so when I asked my kids, Dad has to go somewhere to develop Trifork, because we just listed the company in 2007. And the day after, we were hit by the financial crisis. And also back then, there were analysts, Paul, and investors. They were looking at us and saying, what's your 3-year plan? How does that look like? And then the world just crashed. And I thought to myself, I have to build markets where we haven't been before. So 2 years ago, when I could see this shit show coming that is now, I thought we have to do the same one more time. And I met Karan. Yeah, I already met you. I mean, I already knew you from Apple. You were our partner, representative from Apple. So you came to me and said, why don't I get a job at Trifork? And then we really execute. And I said, will it not make Apple upset? That was my main concern. And you said, no, we'll help them. Okay, then we do it. And so a short period after I moved to Switzerland, by some magic, most of the market, the revenue, came from outside Denmark. Then we did do a lot of M&As in Denmark, and then now Denmark is the biggest again. But we have to do the same one more time. In not too distant a future, the US market for Trifork should be bigger than the rest of Trifork, right?
100%.
Good. So that's fast forwarding, and it stands with Span3 and you and a few customers. And we're going to talk about them now. And I think you can start coming in here in the picture.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been a wonderful ride, and I'll kind of go through some of my slides later on. But I think everybody knows the promised land of United States, right? It's the biggest technology market out there. We think we are at a very unique sweet spot of really creating an opportunity, just not for Trifork, but for our customers as well. Because the way we do things, and I hope that kind of what we've shared so far gives you a perspective on that, is being really received well by the customers that we are speaking with. And we are just getting started. I finished 1 year at the company in 2 days. So literally, Morten and I joined within weeks of each other. And we are just taking our first initial steps of delivering huge transformation outcomes for our customers, embarking on these massive technology transitions that we're seeing with spatial computing and with Vision AI. And we'll talk about why these two specifically, but couldn't be more excited about what we have in front of us.
So this is what you have. This is what we give you as, here's our capabilities. Go talk to some Americans. And here are our products and components. And with the blues and the greens, you have your play field. And then it's just connect with someone on LinkedIn and
it's
go
just
do
like
it.
our customer, Lego blocks, right?
Yeah. So here was how it looked in Europe. We're doing a teaching session here, then you can do the same in the US. So here is a very complicated map on how, we did the invasion of different countries, and there's arrows, and Francesco is here, and by Francesco coming into the group, we were all of a sudden in UK, in Stockholm, in Budapest, in Krakow, and we love these business units. They give diversity, they give new ideas, they give new capabilities. Spain, one of my favorite countries, Mallorca, might not be the most obvious place to have an office, but I invite you everyone to come and visit. It's a wonderful office. And we actually have some of our best minds there for not only Vision AI, but also Vision Pro. And you might not think that, but they are not all just at the beach. Actually, people who are born and raised on Mallorca, they actually don't want to leave. And typically, their hobby and their work is the same thing. It's computer science. And as you know, a good Spaniard stays home until they are more than 30. Why get your own place if mom is cooking? And so many of them have been trained at university around the world, California, many other places, but also Barcelona. Then they go back. And I figured out that we are probably the most interesting workplace if you are a computer scientist on Mallorca. Because the rest are travel agencies, big companies, hotel groups, etc. So how are you going to draw the arrows here?
All right, let me give it a shot.
Okay.
All right, Jørn is always a hard act to follow because you don't know what's coming. I had no idea he's going to call me on that slide, so like, what is he doing? but I guess I have my talk track from the slides on. So why am I here? I think one theory is I could not go to a bigger company. There was no bigger company after Apple, so I had to come down to a smaller company. But there is a theme here. I've worked in enterprise technology all my life. Started with the most complex SAP, right? And then kind of when you understand the guts of how the enterprises work and how the workflows operate, and then you work for a company that delivers the most unbelievable experience, and you focus on how that might work in an enterprise world, you have a good understanding of the entire stack, if you will. And in my conversations with lots of partners, and I dealt with hundreds of partners in my time at Apple, Trifork stood out as a company that was a perfect last mile partner for its customers. And that was my kind of belief in the company, that if there is a company that does this well, exceedingly well, not just in Europe, but globally, it was Trifork. And that was my kind of easy decision of actually joining Trifork. And I think I already covered this slide, but it's not just what I saw from an Apple as I was talking to Trifork was just the Apple and the experience side of things. But I think there's a lot more to it. It's an absolutely unbelievable talent pool. It's the leadership and innovation. And Preben talked about spatial computing. We have heard from Apple at all levels that we are probably one of the top 2 or 3 spatial computing partners that they have right now. So this kind of gives us a lot of confidence that not only are we building for today, but we are also getting set up to scale for tomorrow. So what is our US strategy? My belief is that if you're all things to all people, or if you're all technologies to all customer, you probably do not have a message. And we at Trifork do a lot of things, and for us to actually break into a new market, you have to be hyper-focused into what that what that message is. So we know it's AI and spatial computing at the core. We actually love the fact that the analyst community doesn't like the Apple Vision Pro, because that gives us a head start and an advantage of building enterprise solutions that nobody else can build. So when we hear negative stories about spatial computing, we are just delighted, because that allows us more room and kind of reduces the competition that we potentially have. AI is going to be all around us, right? You hear a lot about generative AI. There is a lot of hype cycle around generative AI. There's a reason we have not specifically spoken about Gen AI, because again, we think it's all about focus. And if you just look at the world within AI itself, I think Vision AI will be massively important for all customers, especially industrial customers. Imagine a world where you haven't converted what you're looking at into data. And the moment you convert that into data, you can make unbelievable things possible. And we'll run you through an example of how Vision AI, when combined with spatial computing, can actually fundamentally change how things work. All right. This is not a guidance. This is not my forecast. So just to be clear.
Then it would need to be higher, right? Yeah.
But we've been starting off a low base in the US, and we've kind of steadily kind of gotten ourselves to a point where we have some form of foundation. And with Cedric and Spantry coming on board, we have We have some really unbelievable talent that can build and create platforms for our customers in the most complex of scenarios. We believe that in the next couple of years, we can be the second largest market for Trifork, just purely from a revenue perspective, right? If we are being conservative. We also believe that if we look at our trends of how we've gone into other markets over the last decade or so, we think we can easily, over the next 10 years, we can be a 5 to 10x revenue in the United States. And that's what gets us super excited. And this is not actually counting the fact that we are in the perfect intersection of the new S-curve forming from a technology perspective. It was probably 2008 when all these technologies were coming together, the mobile and the cloud piece. And 15 years later, we are at a place where AI, spatial computing are really coming together in a way that's going to really change the landscape of what technology might look like. And we are in a perfect spot there. So Preben gave you a quick insight into this particular customer, GATX. I still remember we had a conversation with them on a rainy day in August of last year, Jørn and I, and we said, we want to be a partner. We don't expect anything right now, but we want to earn our stripes and our credibility, and we want to do a ride along with you. We really want to understand how your users work and operate, and we want to come back with solutions and ideas that might impress you. So would you give us the opportunity to actually go at your maintenance yards and understand how you do your work, and perhaps come up with ideas that might impress you? We did that. We spent a couple of days at their maintenance facility in the middle of Texas, really understood how they do work, and came up with some ideas. And essentially what we are now creating is a digital, we're doing many things, but one of the core things we are doing, we are creating a digital twin of their car. Now imagine this company that has 150,000 rail cars that they lease to their customers. Every car is a certain number of dollars per day of revenue. And these cars have to come in for maintenance. And every time the car comes in for maintenance, it's not generating revenue. And so
maybe can I also just want to break in here, because you probably, those of you who actually read the news, the Ohio incident was not just a small one. It's probably going to cost not only people's health, the companies involved, way more than $1 billion. And these kind of companies are scared about these things because they need to document how they maintain. Because in that case, it was one of the wheel bearings that was not properly maintained and derailed and caused and a catastrophe.
Yeah. We still remember one of our customers said this, and this is actually perfect. They said, we are information rich, knowledge poor. And that is probably true of almost all our customers, or all the enterprise companies all over the world, because they could always do better with knowledge. And that's probably the scenario that we're laying out here in terms of how exactly this digital car might play out. So you saw this, so I'll skip through this. But imagine that you've created a digital twin of the car using Vision AI. And then the next question we asked was, how about we render that digital twin in a 3D format on the Apple Vision Pro? So please, when you go through your demo, you please see this demo as well. We showed this to the COO, and he says, just give me this. I don't need anything else. If I can reduce information asymmetry between my engineer in Chicago and my inspector in Texas, you had me. This solves 90% of my problems. I said, well, we haven't talked AI yet. We haven't really annotated this with dents and defects and other things. But just to give you an idea, when we started this project, we had no idea we could even do this. Spatial computing, Apple Vision Pro was still not there. We were, of course, doing this. We kind of kept thinking through what this might look like, and we came up with an idea that has customers super impressed, and we hopefully have a customer for life. So what does this mean for us, right? If you think about our world, if you think about any technology, you can easily kind of slice that into 3 layers, right? At the core is your foundational platform work, the platform engineering work. And then when you have built these strong core systems and scalable systems, you actually can write applications on top of it. And then, of course, whatever you write, someone has to use it. And hopefully you're delivering a better experience for that end user. And as we go through these slices of platform application and experience, we think we are uniquely situated between our partnerships with NVIDIA, with SAP, with Apple, and a lot more technology that comes along in the platform world that gets us to a point where we have a very strong standing. Just changing gears a little bit, you might be asking as an analyst, okay, why are these guys so interested in spatial computing? We have never heard about it. It's a term that was coined 6 months ago, or maybe 9 months ago. We might have heard of the term VR, AR, VR, XR, right? And unfortunately, those terms don't do justice to what we think spatial computing really is, because that came from the realm of gaming, right? But if you take gaming out for that particular world and just focus on the software part of it, this is a massively growing market. So imagine growing from a low base right here that actually could take you, with the growth of 30%, and with the positioning we have with Apple at this time, we think we could take a fair bit of share, at least in European and North American markets, hopefully larger segments and geographies over the course of the years. But that's what gets us excited, right? Not only our belief as technologists that it's relevant, but as what we hear from analysts as well makes it absolutely the ideal one. Again, we've already spoken about Spantry. We could not be more excited about Cedric joining us. If you haven't met him, just say hello and get to know more about him and his team. Absolutely unbelievable engineers and team members who focus on customer outcomes. And I think we are just getting started. This is just the beginning for us. I think that's the last slide. Yeah. No questions, right, Frederick? No questions. So we'll take Q&A later, but let's take a break, get you on the Vision Pro, and get some coffee in your system as well.